The 891st edition of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog. Get up to $1,000 deposit match when you sign up at UnderdogFantasy.com and use promo code MMA SGPN.
Hi-yo, Degenerinos. Welcome to episode 891 of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Yes, we're back already. You probably just got done with episode 890. Here we are again, dedicated to Dan Hamilton, who says, "Hail the Canada." He's my friend on YouTube that we were discussing whether it's Ukraine or the Ukraine. So I'm glad he's a fellow joker, as I am, and not someone on the internet who takes himself too seriously. I am, of course, the what's my name again? The whiny Canadian liberal, Jeff Fox. That's obviously who I am. That's Daniel Gumby Vreeland. Fresh from week one of Dana White's Contender Series. Wasn't the greatest week for picks, but it usually takes a week to get into things, it seems.
And it also wasn't bad. Like, we went 2 out of 3, and the end result was like down like 0.6 units.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
Down half a unit on the first week. And like, let's be real frank here for a second, because I know we recapped it 2 episodes ago, so I'm not going to get too deep into it.
Yeah.
As weird as anybody has ever fought.
Yeah.
You know, even in the Meet Joe Pyfer episode, or yeah. Be Joe Pyfer, not Meet Joe Black. In the Be Joe Pyfer episode, like, there were some bad fights and some people who had like questionable like game plans, but like, there wasn't anybody who won a fight with 4 significant strikes and only 5 total strikes. It's not even like it was like just like a lot of strikes that weren't significant. He threw 20 total strikes, landed 5 and won. There wasn't anything like that. I mean, Dana even said it in his press conference. Like, he said it was worse than the Joe Pyfer episode. So, historically weird. And hopefully we get back to, especially after his pep talk about how much he hated it, we get back to a little bit more normal action here.
Yep. Gumby was there in person. Thoughts on the UFC Apex? How did you get to see around the place? Or?
Yeah. I got to poke around a little bit. It's real nice. It's a lot smaller, I think, in parts than I realized.
Yeah.
Everything is pretty tight. I didn't get obviously into like the executive offices or anything like that, but it's a very intimate space for fighting. And I got to tell you, the weirdest thing in the whole world is like the no entrance music walkouts.
Yeah.
Along with like, I'm not kidding, it's silent in that place when those fighters are walking out most of the time. Like, absolutely, positively no noise. Like, I could kind of hear like Laura Sanko saying her like preview stuff as they were walking out. And it was like eerie. Like, occasionally they would have like one of their family members there who was like screaming.
Oh my God.
But
can we talk about that? Was it Yuri Panferov's wife?
Panferov's wife was jacked up.
Oh my God. It's so loud and annoying. I'm glad.
I didn't know if that would come through on the broadcast.
Oh, it came through already.
Yeah, some of the guys in the media, bro, were like looking around and being like, "Everybody hearing this?" Like, yeah. She was great. She was who is it? Was it Tyron Woodley's wife his mom who used to be like that, right?
Yeah. There's some.
Or Ben Henderson. Ben Henderson, mom? I'm trying to remember. It was somebody from that era, though. Had a mom who would just go absolutely ballistic. It was like reminiscent of that.
Yeah. Did you meet any interesting people, Gumby?
Forrest Griffin sat behind me the whole time. DC was obviously there. Sanko, it was when you're doing the media stuff, you rub elbows with just about all the guys. So it was pretty cool.
Yep. Very good. No Gumby in attendance for this week, but hopefully we get better action. And basically, you were just one fight. Like, the main event could have gone your way very easily. So, like,
the main event should have been a draw, maybe. And I still argue that there's a real argument that George Mangos won round 2 of that fight, and you could have given him the decision. Because I know he only had like 10 seconds of control time, but he threw like 8 punches in that time, and that was twice as many as De Silva landed in the whole fight. So if you gave him that second round, which when I was scoring live, I was like, man, I know it's hard to do that when the guy's got 3.5 minutes of control time, but like, it's really there. Like, either one of those two swing my way and we're on a profit week. So I don't hate my picks from that week. I think they were good reads. They were just weird fights.
Yep. Very true. So whoever that was, someone in YouTube said really stupid. To don't pay attention to the guy in gray, which I think was you, because
I had a plus 205 underdog to open.
His picks are the worst. So obviously, you can tell people that don't actually pay attention to the episodes, and
we love the haters as much as we love the guys who like.
Download's a download. Speaking of downloads, make sure you download the SGPN app for all our picks and podcasts for free in one convenient place. SGPN app, wherever you get your apps. It's always like when you hit something amazing too that people come up with.
I hit like a 2-1 underdog, and they're like, "Yeah, exactly. Guy doesn't know anything."
You're not paying attention. All right, thoughts on this week's episode before we dive into it? Anything intrigue you? Anyone you're really excited to see?
The funny thing is, I think like a touch less talent this week than last week. Now, granted, probably going to perform better because they couldn't perform worse. But there's a couple of fights that are real tight for me. And it really depends on whether or not they come out and do what I expect them to do, which is especially following a week where Dana White crapped all over people who wrestle.
Yeah.
Like that could change things huge here. So like it's kind of a weird week to think about game planning because this could be one of those weeks where fighters fight like they don't usually fight.
Yeah, which makes making picks difficult, especially if a guy's a wrestler. All right, we'll see if it changed any Gumby's plays. Talking Tuesday night, of course, Dana White Contender Series Week 2. That will be August the 19th, 8 p.m. start time. A tidy 5-fight card, which I always like. We did a 10-fight prelim the other day, so it's nice to have a 5-fight card. All right, this fight was just made within the past week and a half, I think. Brandon Holmes versus Cam Rowston, U.S. versus Australia. 185, 3 5-minute rounds. No odds yet. Do you remember what day they actually dropped last week?
I think it was like early Saturday, if I'm not mistaken.
Really
so we'll might have to wait on them. Like I know we moved this to Friday to try to give the odds a chance to drop, but or Thursday rather for a chance to drop.
It was going to be Friday, but the odds stopped dropping. So you people get it. I guess it's good. You guys get it even earlier now because we don't want to be recorded and then the odds drop the second we finish recording. So anyhow, Gumby will
might do that anyway.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But we're definitely not waiting until Saturday to get this episode out. So this is a very good nickname episode, I have to say for sure.
Okay.
Starting with this one, Battle Giraffe, Cam Rowston. Was that my name ever? Because it's going to be now if it wasn't before. It was my name already.
He's been on Contender Series.
Yeah, I know. I don't remember stealing it though. Yes, he has been on Contender Series before. Battle Giraffe's a good name. He's 11-3, 3 knockouts, 7 submissions. He's been knocked out once. 0-1 on Contender Series. Remember who he lost to, Gumby?
Yeah, Therese Finney.
Yep.
Apparently, that's the path to get on Contender Series this year. Lose to Therese Finney, they'll give you another shot.
Everyone lost to Therese Finney because he lived just like Jamal Hill. He lived in the Apex for a while, and now apparently Forrest Griffin lives there as well. All right, 0-1 Contender Series. He's won 3 straight though, and 8 of 9. Multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get a shirt, get a merch. sportsgamblingpockets.com/store. This, believe it or not, is a Gumby shirt. I've worn it many times for many years. It didn't wear out right away.
We got a hat over here too. I've been wearing it backwards, but yeah, SGPN DJs only, baby.
There you go. Used to fight at 205. Rowston did 1-0 as a pro Muay Thai fighter. Holmes is 5-0 with 3 knockouts. He's stepping in here on short notice. Like I said, about a week and a half. TKO win in his last bout. 2 years younger than Rowston.
Yeah, he was supposed to be John Kuhneman. And actually, this is the second time Rowston has had a fight fall off, too, because he was supposed to fight, is that Mark Holm? Like 3 years ago. And somebody fell out of that. I think Rowston actually fell out of that fight. And then we wound up with him fighting Therese, and then the Kuhneman fight fell out. Yeah, a lot of different ones in there.
Yeah.
This one's really hard for me to line because on one hand, Rowston looked really, truly terrible against Therese Finney.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, too, like he's looked good on the regional scene, but he's fought kind of terrible competition on the regional scene. Holmes is undefeated. He's 5-0. He kind of comes in hyped, but that one's on short notice. I'm going to say pick him here.
Okay.
Like -110 on either side because I just can't get a read as whether or not the short notice or the bad last fight is going to matter more. I think I'm going to go Brandon Holmes. And this is one of those fights where I'm going to tell you that, like, I think this is one of those fights where Cam Rowston might be convinced not to fight the way he usually fights.
Okay.
Because Cam Rowston, if you watched the Therese Finney fight, you might not know because he got taken down in that fight. And fighting Therese Finney, it doesn't work. We said that last week about Panfroff. I said, look, this guy's a better wrestler than you realize because, he got taken down by Finney, but, like, he'll take down Uriel. which is what he did. He won that fight by taking people down. The problem is he didn't get a contract, right? Yuri Pampurov didn't get a contract off of that. Now, will Cam Rowston just follow that path, having literally just watched somebody, lose access to their dreams because of that fight style? Man, it's hard to say. But if you look at his more recent fights down in Australia, like, he's shooting takedowns early in that fight. I watched one back. I wrote down the guy's name. Oh, Blair Braytag. He fought Blair Braytag, who is 4-3 as a professional, which includes a loss to Cam Rowston. And he really struggled with the takedowns early, just like couldn't find his moments. Did have to, he did take the back at certain points in time, but then he'd fall off and he'd be on the bottom. He's good at getting up himself, but he's also like not necessarily good at holding people down. And he looks to struggle when he shoots the takedown on the feet. I'm a little not positive on how good he is on the feet because he looks like he's had success against some of the people, but again, it's low level competition. My read is that it's slow. He likes to throw like a Muay Thai knee. He's got his hands up high like a Muay Thai kind of guy. But it doesn't seem quick like he grew up in Muay Thai. It seems more like he grew up a grappler and then like added the Muay Thai and maybe took that Muay Thai fight for like funsies. And on the other hand, Brandon Holmes is like very, very fast on the feet. He's explosive. He's quick. But he is a little raw, in my opinion. And the biggest reason for that is like I don't see a lot of striking defense sometimes when he's moving forward. He's sort of supplemented that later in his career by being extra patient. But then again, is he going to do that now? Is he going to be the patient guy? And when the patient guy in Leon Bofia just got roasted by Dana White too. But I actually think the two fighting styles being roasted here, it actually favors Holmes, because if Holmes is to not do what he typically does, which is, be a little bit more patient to try to help his striking defense, he's going to be more aggressive. And I think he's better on the feet. So like, I think that's going to play up for him. The takedown defense seems like it's there for Holmes. So like, I think he'll be able to keep his feet. If not, I think he can get back up too. Like he's pretty powerful and pretty quick when it comes to that kind of thing. And then the biggest piece for me is that so I think Holmes is the better striker. I think this fight is going to turn into a striking match because of all the things Dana White's done and the fact that Rowston doesn't want to do exactly what Pampurov did. And if it does that, I think Holmes wins. But if it turns into a grappling match, I actually think Rowston might just gas out in that fight anyway. He's looked like he's had some issues with his cardio in the past. He's fighting a guy who's just as big as he is, which, wasn't the case in the Therese-Finney fight, right? Like Therese was like 8 inches shorter than him or something like that. Holmes is just as tall. I think the more athletic Holmes, the better striker Holmes, favors him in a Dana White Contender Series fight. So give me Brandon Holmes, but this is a weird one for sure.
You described a draft when you were mentioning Rowston, how he fought. I think this sounds like a draft fighting in the cage.
He's like a little slow, but very tall.
Yep. Stumbling around. And yeah, exactly. You described a draft. Tapology, 72% on Holmes.
I think that's the undefeated record, though.
Yeah. Yep, could be. All right, before we dive into more, hopefully winning plays. No, definitely winning plays. Let me tell you about MyBookie. We're brought to you by MyBookie.ag. MyBookie is your place to bet on every sport, including MLB, WNBA, golf, and of course, football futures. MyBookie accepts customers from a ton of locations. They have easy deposit, lightning fast payouts using crypto. The Contender Series odds will be there. And when you do head to MyBookie.ag, use our promo code MMA SGPN. That way you get 100% deposit match up to $1,000. Terms and conditions apply. That's MyBookie.ag, promo code MMA SGPN. And Rhythm. Rhythm's power trends are now called Smart Signals. Rhythm continues to crush it with Smart Signals, which is essentially the best of what their house model has to offer. These are AI-detected patterns where Rhythm's model has consistently won and has a high ROI. Think a strikeout prop that wins 59% of the time when the line and win probability hit a certain range. Smart Signals are updated daily and exclusive to Rhythm. No tails, no noise, just clean data-backed bets. MLB Smart Signals are crushing it. Mike Trout and Giancarlo Stanton are combined 14-0 on Smart Signals, recommending their unders. And WNBA Smart Signals 97-65 in July, which was an ROI of 15.64%. These are so good that Scott and Adam literally got booted off one of their bookie accounts for winning too much. So download the Rhythm app, try to get booted off places too. Check out Smart Signals and start betting smarter. We will be. Gumby, do you have a Smart Signal find?
Yeah, I think I mentioned this last week too, but Smart Signals has been real high on the overs for Michael Harris II and he just went ahead and hit a grand slam last night against the Mets, and they were down 6-0, but they won 11-6. So yeah, Michael Harris just blowing things up, and so is Rhythm.
Get a 7-day free trial to Rhythm by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm, RITHMM. All right, let's get to the next fight. It's not all middleweights this week. We have 135 now. Lewis Lee Scott from England, Kaushik Saikumar from India, bantamweight, 3 5-minute rounds. Saikumar is the pride of Chennai, 5-0, 3 knockouts, 1 submission, 3 straight wins via finish, 2 inches taller than Scott. Scott is lightning, 9-0, 5 knockouts, 2 submissions. He's been submitted. Sorry, he won his last bout via submission. He's never been submitted. 1-0 in PFL, regional champ, 3 years younger than Saikumar.
Yeah, I think Lewis Lee Scott, the big favorite here, probably in the mid twos, like -250 is probably my guess. And he's my pick here. I am a little bit weary of the striking prowess of Saikumar. He's like very clearly a guy who comes from a Muay Thai background, super high hands, way up at the face, throws kicks with lightning speed, but has really supplemented that with a jiu-jitsu game that's pretty nasty. He trains with his trainer is Ryan Hall. He trains at 50-50 in Virginia. Okay. Yeah. And, obviously that leads to good things. But if you watch, was it his last fight or was it 2 fights ago that I watched? But one of his recent fights, like he was getting worked on the feet for the most part. He was getting his mid-level kick caught a lot and then returned. He'd get hit 2 or 3 times. And every time he did that, he would just flop to his back. I think he was hoping that the guy would be invited into his guard and he could do something weird. I think 2 problems with that. Number one, I think there's a good chance that Lewis Lee Scott catches his kicks and hurts him again. And then in addition to that, like, I kind of think Lewis Lee Scott could just survive on top and like do well enough. Like he'll land his ground and pound and stuff. Like, I don't think he's as much of a novice on the ground as Saikumar is used to facing, obviously as being demonstrated by the fact he's coming off of a submission win. He's also a former Aries champion. And if you watch the fight where he won the Aries belt, he beat DeMarte Pena. This is a guy who's, the nickname is Lightning. You knew it was going to come, but he's like super, super fast in there. And he gives really, really, really hard looks to try to get in on him. He switches stances. He moves in and out of range really well. Like, my one big note from his fight with DeMarte Pena was that like Pena looks like he's missing a lot. And it's like, that's not something that happens often with DeMarte Pena. Yeah. He just like, it just kept looking like he couldn't find him. And I think that's key here against Saikumar. Cause like Saikumar's got power when he lands, but like, as I said, in his last fight, he was getting caught a lot or it might've been 2 fights ago, caught a lot and returned on. And it was trouble for him. He really only like won that fight because he landed like a big knee in the 3rd round and maybe got a lucky stoppage. Like, I'm not even sure that was a good stoppage, but my point is I think that in this fight, Lewis Lee Scott holds the cards to whether or not this fight goes to the ground. I don't think he necessarily follows Saikumar. I think he just keeps beckoning him up, and I think he's faster on the feet with more tools and weapons. And with as hard as he is to hit, I think he avoids the knockout blow. So give me Lewis Lee Scott in this one. All
right, Lewis Lee Scott is the play, but -250. Hopefully a better line than that, though. Yeah. Going up to heavyweight now.
Probably, by the way, if that is the line, I think this fight is closer than that. Okay. I think Saikumar's power is like, worthy enough to make you like scratch your head onto whether or not you like Lewis Lee Scott. But I do think, Lewis Lee Scott wins.
All right, we're going to heavyweights now. Josh Hokit versus Guillermo. Uriel, US versus Brazil. Let's break her down. Uriel is Urso, which is bear, 6-1, 3 knockouts, 3 submissions. He's been knocked out once. He owes his rounds. He's won 2 straight. He went 4-1 in LFA. Based on their last weigh-ins, he was 10 pounds heavier than Hokit. The Incredible Hulk is 5-0, 2 knockouts, 3 submissions. So he owes his rounds as well. 3-0 in LFA, 2-0 in Bellator, RIP, an inch of reach over Uriel.
So Hokit's definitely going to be the favorite. When you combine the undefeated record with, the fact that he's, looked pretty damn good in his last 2 fights, I think that's going to come together. We'll say -300 on Hokit, like +250, 275 on Uriel. I'm going to take a swing on a dog here. I'm going to take Guilherme Uriel. I think people will be kind of surprised because I've kind of been tooting the horn of Hokit through his LFA run. But there's 2 problems I have with continuing to back Josh Hokit at this juncture. And the biggest one of them is the fact that He's thrown one strike standing up in his last 3 fights. I went back and watched, and I counted. There is one jab, and other than that, he hasn't thrown a single strike standing up in his last 3 fights. That's really significant, especially given the narrative we have around Dana White's Contender Series coming into this episode, right? Yeah. Like, first of all, I don't think he will deviate from that game plan because I don't think he can deviate from that game plan. I really question what he's got on the feet. Now, on the other side, I think Uriel can turn this into a striking match for long enough. Like, he's got enough wrestling defense. 2 fights ago, he jumped guillotine and finished a guy in like 29 seconds. He's got a really nice submission game, a really nice front headlock game. And then on the feet, like, he might look like a chunky guy. These are both like stocky heavyweights, right? And Uriel might look like a chunky guy. He's got really big hands. Now, they're not always super fundamental, but he hits really hard. And we've really not seen what Hokit does on the feet with anybody who can box, right? Because he's been like, I think if you add up all the time he was on the feet in his last 3 fights, I think we're talking about like maybe 40 seconds in one standing strike he's thrown. And so, like, what happens when he fails? And like, those of you out there backing Hokit, like, I hear you. You might think he's not going to fail. Like, why wouldn't he score a takedown on Uriel? I'm just saying, if this is a 2-1 underdog or a 3-1 underdog, I want the guy who showed me he can box and do jiu-jitsu, not just the guy who showed me he can do jiu-jitsu. And like, the level of competition for Hokit, and it's not great for Uriel across the board either, but the competition for Hokit has not been good. It's been pretty low. So like, I'm going to go with Uriel here, just thinking there's enough chance that he sprawls and brawls. There's enough chance that Hokit spends a minute on the feet instead of 15 seconds. And it might be enough because the way he hits and stuns people, and his instinct to finish too. I mean, it's there. So give me Guilherme, Uriel.
Never wrong taking a stab at a heavyweight, especially
a big heavyweight underdog. Definitely. Yeah.
Yep. Co-main event. They don't call that, but I'm calling that. Tommy Cuozzi, Ramiro Jimenez. Jimenez, he's from Mexico. Cuozzi is from the United States. So fighting at featherweight. Excuse me. Jimenez is Al Cachanilla, 10-0, 5 knockouts, 3 submissions. He's won 2 straight fights via finish. He used to fight at 135 and 155. He's an inch taller than Cuozzi. Little T is 8-0, 5 knockouts, 3 submissions. He owns rounds. Regional champion, used to fight at 155. So small resume there.
Yeah. I think Jimenez, big favorite. Negative 265 is what I'm going to guess.
Okay.
And I'm going Jimenez. I actually interviewed Tommy Cuozzi for an episode recently. Love the guy. Think he's excellent. I think this is too big of a step up for him. I think he got kind of a bad matchup here. If you watch his last fight, Cuozzi's been fighting on like the North Carolina regional circuit. And like, I mean, he even said it in his interview with me. He was like having trouble finding what the next step was. And then he hired Derek Brunson as his agent to try to get him to the next step. And instead of it being like a big LFA fight or maybe, like a CFFC or something like that, that like showed him that next level, instead it was Contender Series. And it was Contender Series right away. And I think that's a problem because if you look at his last fight, he gets into the clinch with the guy and the guy who he's fighting pretty much pulled him out. Like he fell to his back and pulled Tommy Cuozzi into mount, and obviously he finished him, right? And if you go back and you watch his previous fights, like the only other fight I could find with him against like a reputable opponent was, do you remember Theo Rylang? His last name is spelled Rlayang. He fought on Contender Series. It was against one of those guys who fought like 2 or 3 times on Contender Series. I'm trying to remember who, but Rylang, Muay Thai kickboxer, right? Like even in his like headshot for the fight with Cuozzi, he's like wearing like Muay Thai gloves. And so he's a kickboxer. But in that fight, Cuozzi tags him in the clinch and Rylang takes him down. And I was just like, oh, the kickboxer's taking you down. And like a lot of his good offense has come with back takes and top control and stuff like that. So like if that's where the best offense is, and then like you're also being taken down by a kickboxer, you have to wonder if there's levels to this. And then on the other hand, I like went and watched some film on Jimenez because I wasn't familiar with him. He's a Kambache guy. I don't get a chance to watch a lot of Kambache, but his fights on Kambache are electric, man. He's a southpaw with an incredible jab. He backs people up, excellent footwork, cuts the cage off, dangerous knees. And then on top of that, in one of his more recent fights, I watched him get in on a body lock when he decided he wanted to take down. It was kind of crazy that he wanted to take down in the first place because, look, he was killing the guy on the feet. But he got a body lock, and while he was standing, got like the Dagestani handcuff in there.
Yeah.
And then by the time he got the guy down, it was still in and just like leveled him with ground and pound. And like, I'm just thinking about Cuozzi and that exchange with Rylang, and I just don't know that he'll be able to deal with Jimenez if he does decide to take it to the ground. And then on the feet, I think Jimenez is so much faster, so much sharper. I love the footwork. I think this is kind of a levels fight for Cuozzi. It's going to teach him a lot about where he's at, but I'm going to go with Jimenez.
All right, Jimenez is the pick. All right, before we get to our main event of the evening, let me tell you about Circa Million and Circa Survivor. The world's greatest sports book, Circa Las Vegas, is hosting the world's biggest pro football contest. That will be Circa Million, Circa Survivor, and Circa Grandissimo with over $21 million in guaranteed prizes. Can't call yourself a true degen if you're not competing in the Circa football contest. Come hang out with SGPN at the Circa contest weekend, August 21st to 23rd, for an amazing weekend, including live shows and open bars. Plus, you get 15% off a stay at the Circa with promo code SGP15. Contests are open to everyone. Sign up in Nevada and play from anywhere with the help of SGPN's official proxy. Go to footballcontest.com and use promo code SGP to get $50 off your proxy fees. Underdog Best Ball Media is happening all summer long, giving away $15 million in prizes, including $2 million in first place. No waiver wire, no arguments about trades. Best Ball is the best way to play fantasy football. Underdog also is a great place to play Pick'em, where you can win up to 500 times your entry. Gumby has a play for you right now.
Yeah, this one's painful for me, but I'm going to take the higher than on Pete Alonso's total bases. Right now, we've got the projection set at 1.5. He's facing off with Bryce Elder tonight, a guy who he's historically hammered. And in his last 3 games, he's got 6 extra base hits. So there's probably a good chance he finds at least a double in here tonight. Give me Pete Alonso's higher than on his total basis.
All right, sign up with our promo code MMA SGPN. That we get to claim a special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus credits. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code MMA SGPN. All right, to our main event, it's at featherweight as well. Manuel Exposito, actually, Exposito. He's from Argentina. Jose Delano, he is from Brazil. Let's break it down. Delano Z is the nickname. He's 15-3, 4 knockouts, 5 submissions. He's been knocked out once, submitted once. He's won 3 straight and 14 of 15, 2 straight wins via finish. He's not lost since January 2023. He went 6-1 in LFA and was the champion there. He also a regional champ. He's fight down at bantamweight. 2014 pro MMA debut, an inch taller than Exposito, 2 inches of reach on him. Exposito is 13-2, 3 knockouts, 7 submissions. He's been knocked out once. He's durable. He's won 3 straight and 3 of 5. Multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get a shirt, get a merch, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. Get sticky with it. One of those championships, he's from Argentina, so you know what it's like.
Yeah, Samurai Fight House.
Samurai Fight House, exactly. He's fight at 135, 4 years younger than Delano.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious on where this line comes on, too, because on one hand, Exposito's record looks a little better, right? Mm-hmm. Delano's an LFA guy, though, so, Delano's definitely going to be the favorite. I'm hoping we're in the, high 1s, low 2s. So let's just say -200 for the purpose of this. And I'm going Delano. 100% I'm going Delano. Exposito, there's some things to like about him. He does a really good job with counters when people swing and miss. He's he's a pretty damn good scrambler when he gets into clinch exchanges and stuff like that. He's got excellent cardio. He's willing to eat a punch to give one, and he's got a pretty damn good chin. The problem is that I just don't think he'll find Delano enough to hit him. Delano is, I wrote it in my notes here. He's a surgeon. He is just a guy who picks people apart from the outside. He's been in there with really high level competition. He hung with arguably won round 1 against Gabriel Santos in their fight. And if he didn't get cut over the eye and have that start to impair him, I think there was a good chance he probably could have held on and won that fight. But it was clearly bothering him and messed him up for the last couple of rounds. So he's been in there with good competition. He picks people apart. His last fight, he fought, Alkanov, the Russian dude who LFA brought in to be their next tough Russian. And that dude tried to take him down. I think it was 5 times and was not close even one time. So if Exposito wants to turn this into a grappling match because he's hating what he's seeing on the feet, which, look, I think he's going to hate what he sees on the feet. I think he's going to, I said he's a good counter puncher when he slips and hits. I don't think he's going to slip what Delano throws at him. I think he's going to back him up, and I think he's going to eat one down the chimney. And so, like, if Exposito gets sick of that and goes for the takedown, like, if Alakhanov didn't get Delano down, I don't think there's any hope Exposito did. And then, like, what he was doing to Alakhanov on the feet between the body work up against the cage and attacking the head, and then, like, when he crumbled him, like, getting on his back and landing punches from there, like, you know, Delano is the real deal. I really like what I've seen from him. Exposito seems like the right kind of fighter to stick him in there so that he can put on a showcase on the feet. Because, like you said, he likes to give one to take, or take one to give one. And I don't know how many of Delano's he'll be able to take, because that dude, you know, he hits you right on the button. So give me Jose Delano in this one.
All right, let's give you a recap. He's got Delano, he's got Jimenez, he has got Uriel, he has got Scott, and he's got Holmes. Who has the brightest future of this group?
Definitely Delano, in my opinion. You know, I think there's a really high ceiling in there. I used to doubt Louis Lee Scott's skills. In fact, I think I even picked against him in one of his more recent Aries fights, if I'm not mistaken. But, you know, he's 9-0 now. He's started to really kind of put it together. The skill set plays up. I just wonder if he'll be, like, aggressive enough to let that speed play against other bantamweights in the UFC. I think it plays here, but, like, I don't know if it will in the future. And then I'm always kind of wishy-washy about where the guys from Kambache are going to come in.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen some look really good. We've seen some look not so good. But, like, if Ramiro Jimenez looks as good as he did in the couple of fights I watched of him, you know, he's obviously going to have no problem with Cuozzi. But, like, you know, he could be worth keeping an eye on too.
All right. There you go. You're all set for the Contender Series. You can chat about the odds when they drop with us in the Discord, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord, or on YouTube, MMA Gambling Podcast. Make sure you subscribe. Please and thanks. Where else can you hit us up? On Twitter, SGPN MMA. Gumby runs that. He's at Gumby Reland. I'm at Jeff Fox Writer. Same as on Instagram for me, at Jeff Fox Writer. Get in my Substack. Enter my UFC Pick'em contest for this weekend for free at moneymma.substack.com. Check out Gumby's other podcast called Top Turtle. Tell the people who's on Top Turtle this week.
Yeah, we're talking to Jack Congdon and Mandel Nallo, who are both fighting on the September 2nd Dana White's Contender Series.
Yeah, so check it out. Both good interviews. And, of course, sportsgamblingpodcast.com is a place to be. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. We won't be back tomorrow. We'll be back on Sunday. Is there a good regional next week? I haven't looked ahead.
Yeah, there's a really nice LFA card, like a superlative LFA card.
Nice. All right, we'll be back for that. It's my turn, right? Or is it your turn?
No, it's
my turn. Until then, Lightning, Jeff Fox bids you farewell. Battle Giraffe Vreeland says bye as well. Bye.